Have you ever felt like you were living your life entirely from the neck up?
Oh, that is such a common feeling today.
Right, you know the feeling. You are
Mhm.
going through your day, managing your body and your mind like they are just components of a machine.
Like you're just doing maintenance.
Exactly. You feed the machine, you rest the machine, you pour caffeine into the machine when the battery dips, but fundamentally, you feel entirely disconnected from yourself.
Yeah, like you are the pilot sitting in a control room and the rest of you is just the vehicle doing the work.
Yes, that specific brand of modern low-grade exhaustion. And if you have ever felt that, you are exactly who we are talking to today.
Because you are probably already hyper aware of this disconnect, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
The question is, what do we actually do about it when the usual advice just feels like, I don't know, more work?
Well, that is the crux of the issue. We are constantly told to look outward to fix this inward problem.
Right? Like buy a new planner or try a new diet.
Exactly. We are trained to focus on external achievements, external therapies, or external metrics of success to somehow solve this internal hollowness.
Which never really works.
No, it doesn't. For most of us, the inner world gets treated like a messy storage closet. We only crack the door open when something falls out, causes a crisis, and forces us to clean it up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we keep it firmly shut.
Okay, let's unpack this. The mission of our deep dive today is to fundamentally flip that script. We are looking at a really fascinating text on a practice called walking internally.
And this is such a brilliant concept.
It really is. Now, before you assume this is just another, mindfulness chore to add to your already overflowing to-do list, hear us out.
Please do.
The goal today isn't to give you more work. It's to explore the concept of mapping the unvisited cosmos inside your own mind and body.
I love that phrasing, the unvisited cosmos.
Yeah. The core definition the text gives for walking internally is deliberate interior movement.
Which is very different from what people usually do.
Totally. It is definitively not navel-gazing. It is not therapeutic processing where you try to, fix your childhood.
Mhm.
And it is definitely not rumination.
Right. It's about traversing your own psychological, somatic, energetic, and spiritual landscapes with actual reverence.
Yes, reverence, that's the key word.
What's fascinating here is that this practice starts with the profound premise every single person contains an unmapped territory.
And it's not just a metaphor, is it?
No, not at all. The text emphasizes that this is a genuine, vast geography layered with ancestral imprints, histories extending way beyond your conscious memory, and emotional patterns that actually predate your ability to use language.
Wow. So it's deep.
Very deep. But to explore this, you have to adopt a very specific posture. The first principle of this exploration is radical non-judgment.
Radical non-judgment, meaning you can't go in there with a red pen.
Exactly. You have to become a kind of internal naturalist.
A naturalist. I love that framework. You are just observing the flora and fauna of your own mind without trying to pave over it.
Right. You have to suspend centuries of conditioning. I mean, we have all been trained by society, by culture, by our families to perform this immediate moral audit the second we discover something inside ourselves.
Absolutely. We find a feeling and immediately label it.
Yes. We are told anger is bad. We are told grief is a weakness. We learn that certain desires are dangerous.
But a naturalist wouldn't do that.
Exactly. Think about a real map maker. A map maker does not judge the terrain. If a cartographer finds a swamp, they do not consider the swamp a failure of the landscape.
That's such a good point.
If they find a dense, dark forest, it is not evidence that the forest is wrong. The swamp is just a swamp. You note the temperature, you name the landmarks, you figure out the boundaries, and you map it.
But treating the body and mind as a landscape creates an immediate complication for anyone trying this, doesn't it?
How so?
Because we're going to act as naturalists mapping this unknown cosmos. We need to know what regions we're actually stepping into.
Ah, right. We need the map's legend.
Exactly. The text organizes this internal geography into three primary terrains. Let's start with the first two, the somatic and the emotional.
Both are incredibly important.
The somatic terrain is fascinating because the text points out a striking idea right out of the gate. The body is not a vehicle for the self. The body is a self.
An ancient pre-verbal self. It holds information, memories, and reactions in ways that thinking analytical minds simply cannot access directly.
It's like a separate hard drive.
Sort of, yes. The nervous system remembers things the brain has long forgotten or suppressed.
Now, reading that, my first thought was, wait, isn't this just a mindfulness body scan? We hear about body scans all the time in wellness spaces.
True. but the text makes it feel very different.
Yeah, because a typical body scan usually feels like checking the oil in your car, right? Like you're looking for broken parts.
Okay.
This sounds less like checking the oil in your car and more like sitting down for a cup of coffee with a very old pre-verbal friend.
That distinction is vital. A standard body scan, especially how it's taught in, say, corporate wellness seminars, often becomes an inventory checklist with a hidden agenda.
Yeah, an agenda to get back to work.
Exactly. You scan down. Does my back hurt? Yes. Am I holding tension in my jaw? Yes. Okay, let's take a deep breath and force that jaw to
Let's
relax.
see. You're commanding the body to perform.
It has an agenda of optimizing the machine so you can be productive again. Somatic walking, according to the text, means directing conscious attention into the physical body entirely without an agenda.
So no trying to fix anything.
None. It is noticing the subtle muscle tension in your shoulders that has been holding on for 10 years and just letting it be there.
You are not asking the muscle to relax. You are just acknowledging its existence. But why does that matter?
What do you mean?
Well, if I feel tension and I don't try to fix it, what is the actual mechanism at play? How does just noticing it help?
Because it changes the relationship between your conscious mind and your nervous system.
Oh, interesting.
When you approach a physical sensation with an agenda to fix it, your nervous system often registers that as a subtle form of aggression or rejection.
Like this tension is bad, it must go.
Exactly. But when you drop your consciousness into your body with genuine, agendaless curiosity, the body stops bracing against your judgment.
It feels safe.
Right, it begins to communicate. You start to hear those sensations as raw data and information rather than perceiving them as mechanical problems to be solved.
But staying purely in the physical body is almost impossible, isn't it?
It's definitely challenging.
Because the moment I focus on that tightness in my chest, I don't just feel a muscle. I start feeling the anxiety or the sadness attached to it.
Which brings us right to the border of the second landscape.
The emotional terrain.
And the text offers a really profound reframe for this terrain. Emotions are not states to be managed. They're what the author calls stalled presences.
Stalled presences. I love that term.
They were literal energies that gathered around a specific meaning or event, attempted to move through your nervous system to communicate something, but got intercepted.
Except at the border.
Exactly. They were turned back by the border guard of your conscious mind because they weren't acceptable feelings at the time. Now, they are living inside you in a state of arrested momentum.
You know, it's like opening your laptop's activity monitor and realizing there is a background program from 1998 that's still using up 40% of your CPU.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Just endlessly trying to download a corrupted file. You don't even know it's running, but it's draining your battery every single day.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. The energy is literally tied up in that stalled loop. And because it's stalled, it colors everything you do.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The text describes what happens when you actually meet these stalled presences, a process it calls emotional archaeology.
Yes, emotional archaeology. When you stop trying to analyze or escape a feeling, you move toward it.
Moving toward the discomfort.
Right. We have to understand that analysis is often a highly sophisticated defense mechanism.
Oh, totally. We think we're being so smart and self-aware.
But really, it just keeps you at a safe intellectual distance. You sit there and think, well, I am angry because of my childhood or because my boss said this specific phrase.
You are intellectualizing.
Internal walking asks you to drop the why and move toward the what. Where does this anger live in the body? Is it hot or cold? What is its texture?
And when you do that, the archaeology begins.
Exactly. It's a literal stratification.
You brush away the dirt of the current situation, and you realize the blinding anger you are feeling today about an email is actually covering up a much older feeling of profound helplessness underneath it.
Yes.
And then you look closer, and there is an even older feeling of grief beneath that.
Layers of feeling deposited across your entire lifetime. Each layer preserves something that could not be processed when it first arrived because you were moving too fast or the environment wasn't safe.
Or it was just too overwhelming for your nervous system at the time.
Right. When you walk internally, you are encountering these ancient artifacts of your own lived experience and finally giving them the witnessing they require to complete their movement.
Okay, so we have excavated the physical layer. We have dug through the emotional strata. What is left?
The deepest part.
Right. This brings us to the third landscape, the luminous terrain. This is the space that bridges the gap between feeling things and pure existence.
This is a region known by many names across different wisdom traditions. Some call it the witness.
The observer.
Yeah, some call it the Atman, which is the Hindu concept of the universal inner self, the spark of the divine within. Others call it the deep self, or the soul.
It can sound very intimidating.
It can. But strip away the esoteric terminology, and what the text describes is simply the awareness that is aware.
The awareness that is aware.
It is the part of you that has quietly watched your entire life unfold. It watched your greatest triumphs, your worst traumas, and your most mundane Tuesday mornings without ever actually being destabilized by any of it.
I really appreciate the metaphor the text uses here, because when people hear terms like luminous terrain or the soul, they immediately think it is some spiritual mountain peak they have to climb.
Oh, for sure. They think it's an elevated state they have to earn by suffering through decades of silent meditation retreats.
Right. But the text says you do not achieve your living room. You simply live in it.
It is an incredibly grounding analogy. You do not have to put in effort to construct or reach this terrain. It is already your baseline architecture.
It's just there.
Paradoxically, this space opens up exactly when you stop trying to do anything. It opens when you stop identifying exclusively with the furniture inside the living room, the racing thoughts, the stalled emotional presences, the physical aches, and you just rest in the awareness that is noticing all of the furniture.
But that raises a really practical question.
Sure.
If I'm wandering through my thoughts, sitting with my stalled emotions, and resting in awareness, how is this different from meditation? Or, honestly, worse, how is this different from just endlessly ruminating about my problems?
That's a very fair concern.
Because I know plenty of people who spend hours wandering around their internal landscape, and they just end up spiraling into a panic attack.
This raises an important question about the actual geometry of our attention. The text breaks down the distinction beautifully.
Okay, lay it out for us.
Meditation, at least in its most common contemporary forms like following your breath or holding a specific mantra, is about narrowing attention. It is training the witness by focusing a beam of light on a single point, like a grain of sand.
Okay, so that's narrowing. What about rumination?
Rumination, on the other hand, is circular. It is entirely avoidant. Picture yourself at 3 a.m., orbiting a black hole of anxiety.
We've all been there.
Right. You return to the exact same mental material repeatedly, playing out the same arguments in your head, but you never go deeper into the feeling itself. You just spin around the event.
You're orbiting the problem without ever actually landing on the planet.
Yes. But internal walking is spiraling. It is wandering with deep intention. It is active, not passive stillness.
So it's dynamic.
Very. You are not floating above the clouds in serene detachment, like in some forms of meditation, and you are not spinning in a panicked circle like rumination. You are moving down through the interior cavern, encountering the material and engaging with it.
Going deeper and deeper.
And you keep moving down because, as the text profoundly states, the meeting is the medicine.
The meeting is the medicine. You don't have to fix the stalled emotion. You don't have to solve the 1998 background program running on your CPU.
No.
You just have to look it in the eye and say, I see you.
The presence of your conscious awareness itself is what the stalled emotion was waiting for. The contact is the healing mechanism.
So what does this all mean? How do we actually take this cartography, this mapping of the self, and apply it? Why is it vital for your daily life, your career, your relationships?
This brings us to the overarching framework the text calls divine integrity.
Divine integrity.
Yeah. This entire practice is meant to address a massive, pervasive modern incoherence. We see it everywhere in society. There is a cavernous gap between what a person knows consciously and what they carry energetically.
Meaning I can say all the right things, read all the right therapy books, espouse these beautiful enlightened truths at dinner parties, but underneath, my nervous system is completely fragmented.
Yes, exactly. You can deeply believe in concepts of wholeness, justice, and peace, while entire continents of your own internal world are actively at war, having never even been acknowledged.
Wow.
And the danger of not walking internally is severe. The text warns that the person who does not walk internally is the person most likely to project their unmet interior onto the external world.
They mistake their own inner chaos for an outer threat.
Yes, they attribute their unresolved ancient material to their partner, their boss, or strangers on the internet.
Which happens constantly.
All the time. They act from the furious urgency of those stalled emotions, but because they have intellectualized it, they genuinely believe they're acting from high moral principle.
That is terrifying, honestly.
It is. Internal walking develops an accurate self-witness. It gives you the capacity to know, in real time, is this intense reaction coming from the email in front of me, or is it rising up from a dark forest inside me that I haven't visited in 20 years?
That is true coherence.
Exact.
That is incredibly powerful. And what I appreciate about this text is that it doesn't leave you hanging with just the abstract philosophy. It gives very practical entry points.
Very grounded tools.
Yeah. You don't need a special posture, you don't need a meditation cushion, and you don't need a dedicated hour of silence. You can start today. The text outlines 4 specific tools, and we should walk through how they actually function.
Let's do it.
The first is the somatic check-in. This is so simple. Before any activity, before you open an email, before you walk into a meeting, before you pick up your kids from school, pause for just one full breath and ask, what is my body currently holding?
And remember the mechanism here. You do not fix it, you simply register it.
Just noting it down.
Right. My shoulders are near my ears. My stomach is in knots. You acknowledge it, because that acknowledgement shifts your nervous system out of an unconscious threat response and brings it into present-day reality.
So that covers the immediate physical trigger. But what about the mental spin? The second tool is emotional naming without story. This is about catching the narrative mind before it spins out of control.
When a feeling arises, you practice naming it without attaching the plot. This has a very specific neurological function.
Because the story is the fuel, right?
Precisely. When you drop the narrative, the story of because my coworker said this or because my partner forgot that you stopped feeding the emotion, new mental fuel.
You starve it of the drama.
Yes. You shift your brain from the default mode network, which is the part of the brain that constantly creates stories and projects into the future or past, and you move into the direct experiential network.
So instead of saying, I'm incredibly anxious because of what my boss said, and now I think I'm going to get fired and lose my house, you just say, there is anxiety. You drop the I am and you drop the because. There's anxiety. Then you feel where it lives in your body. Let it be a presence before it becomes a plot.
It depersonalizes the feeling just enough to let you observe it as a naturalist would observe a sudden change in the weather. It is happening, but it is not you.
Now, the third tool is interior dialogue. And I have to admit, when I first read this section, frankly, it felt a little close to dissociation to me.
It can seem that way at first glance.
Right, because I'm supposed to actually talk to my anger as if it's a separate person in the room.
Yeah.
How does a text justify that without it sounding like we're just actively fragmenting our own personality?
It is a totally valid concern, but the text explicitly addresses this. It is not dissociation, rather. It is utilizing your creative intelligence for self-knowledge.
Okay, how so?
Think of it this way. When an emotion is stalled, it is because it feels too overwhelming to integrate. By temporarily addressing parts of yourself, the angry part, the frightened part, the part that desperately wants to be seen as separate presences with actual voices, you are externalizing the feeling just enough to engage with it safely.
Oh, I see. You're creating a little bit of distance.
Right. You ask it what it needs. You are giving that stalled energy the space to finally deliver the message it has been holding on to since it got stopped at the border. You aren't splitting your personality. You are finally holding a town hall meeting for all the parts of yourself that have been silenced.
Which brings us to the deep end of the pool. The fourth tool is what the text calls dark room sitting. This is described as advanced walking.
It is definitely advanced.
Periodically, you intentionally turn the light of your awareness toward whatever is most avoided. The memory you perpetually defer. The feeling you immediately redirect with scrolling or snacking when it starts to bubble up.
What is beautiful about this advanced practice is how the text frames avoidance itself. To the skilled internal walker, avoidance is not a failure of willpower.
It's a landmark.
Avoidance is just a landmark on the map. It is a giant neon signpost saying, something incredibly significant lives in this direction.
So you don't run from it.
No, you don't force your way in with a machete, but you orient yourself toward it.
You see the dark forest on the map, and instead of running the other way, you say, okay, we need to go exploring there eventually. It is a completely different way of living with yourself.
It really is.
But it begs a final question. If you spend all this time wandering around inside your own private, isolated self, naming your feelings, talking to your anger, doesn't that make you incredibly self-absorbed?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that is the ultimate grand paradox of walking internally.
The paradox.
Every wisdom tradition notes this, but you can only understand it through direct experience. Going deep into the private, isolated self is actually the most direct, efficient route to profound connection with others. Yes. The interior, when you genuinely inhabit it, is not a prison. It is the bridge to the living intelligence of existence itself.
It creates what the text calls the interior logic of compassion. Think about it. If you have met your own profound grief, if you have mapped your own desperate hunger for love or validation, if you have sat in your own dark forest and realized it didn't destroy you, the membrane between you and everyone else suddenly becomes permeable. You don't
Exactly.
have to be told by a self-help book or a guru to be kind. You naturally recognize yourself in everyone you meet. You see someone else acting out of their own hunger, and you don't mistake it for an attack on you because you know exactly what that hunger looks like from the inside.
That is the ultimate relational practice. It begins in the absolute privacy of your own internal chamber, but it always, inevitably, opens up into the shared space what it means to be alive in a human body. You are no longer defending yourself against the reality of other people because you are no longer defending yourself against yourself.
You are finally showing up whole. So as you go about the rest of your day, we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Something to reflect on.
Consider this. Almost our entire modern economy, from the infinite algorithmic scroll of social media to late-night online shopping and endless streaming, is fundamentally built to profit off your avoidance of your own internal terrain.
Wow.
Entire industries are monetizing your refusal to sit in the dark room. What if exploring your own internal map isn't just a healing practice? What if turning your attention inward, without an agenda, is actually an act of profound, radical rebellion? Are you ready to take a walk?